comes up a lot with the guys you work with. I know comes up a lot with the parents that I work with is feelings of guilt for doing more things for themselves. So the hurdles I see the most is always, I don't have time to do this, or I feel bad doing it. Like I put my family first at all costs. And obviously that was a transition you had to make of, to a reasonable degree, putting yourself first. So what would you tell a parent who has that hurdle of feeling almost bad for taking care of themselves again and making these healthier decisions? How does somebody overcome that?
Yeah, this is another great question and topic. I speak in the context of men a lot, but in this context, that's who I coach. In this
Sure.
context, in this example, it's 100% the same for women, for moms. I believe that the hierarchy that we place as parents is completely upside down, and I'll explain. We always talk about our kids being first. We'll do anything for our kids, right? I'll do anything for my kids. Then if we're married, it's our spouse. You know, we want to find time to spend time with our spouse. So usually I say my wife, but I'll say my spouse because I know you have a heavy woman audience. The next is, if you have time, you find some time for yourself. And what always happens to the third thing on the list? It very rarely,
You never touch it. Yeah.
life gets in the way all the time. If you put something third on your list in chronological order during the day gets in the way. Fires come up, calls come in, things happen. That's why you want to get something done. Sometimes it's a great idea to get it done first thing in the morning. I like to tell my clients to completely flip that upside down. And so what my wife and I attempt to do, we're not always successful, but what we attempt to do is we attempt to put ourselves first. And when I say that, I don't mean in a selfish way, like I'm going to go spend 6 hours on myself every day. I just mean that when I lay out my schedule at the beginning of the week or at the beginning of the day, whatever it is, I think about where is that 60 to 90 minutes that I can get in today to take care of myself, self-care. That might be going to the gym. That might be going to the driving range, playing golf that day, taking a long walk, any other meditation. Can I get a massage, ice bath, whatever it is your preferred method of self-care that allows you to show up better for everybody else. I believe that people need to take that and make it a priority, right? And I think that, so that's, you take number 3 and make it number 1 right away. The second thing for me is, look, I've experienced this from, firsthand. If your marriage is not rock solid, good luck have your kids being super successful. If you're constantly struggling with your marriage, it's going to affect your kids. So if you want your kids to have the best life possible, I believe, and I'm sure it's possible to do this because other people have done it, single parents, things like that. But I think the easiest way to do that is to have a rock solid, thriving marriage or partnership. At least let's just call it a partnership, right? Because it can happen with 2 divorced parents, I'm sure. So yourself first, your spouse second. After that, it's your kids. And so it doesn't mean your kids get the crumbs. It just means that you have to prioritize them after you prioritize yourself and after you prioritize your spouse. And so I think you got to flip it upside down. I always say to the guys who say those exact words to me, I feel guilty. I can't do this. I have a couple of guys that just had babies this year. I mean, that's a really tough spot for them in life, and I always say, look, what's better, 100% of you, or you being there 100% of the time at 60, 70% capacity, or you being there 80 or 90% of the time at 100% capacity. Can you take some time? And it really isn't that much time, right? And then the next step, if we're being honest with ourselves and we're really auditing, we all have way more time than we say that we do, right? I'm a big fan of getting up early. You don't have to get up early, but that might be when you need to take time to do things for yourself before other people are awake. And if you tell me that you can't get up early, I'll ask you when you go to bed. I'll ask you what you do for the last hour or 2 of your night. So like really getting honest with yourself, really auditing. I'm a big fan of audits, auditing what's happening in your life on a daily basis, what's working, what's not, is a great way to figure out, like, am I taking care of myself? Am I prioritizing the right things? And if I'm not, be honest and figure out what you have to do to get yourself to where you say that you want to be, because there's always that disconnect. Right? We tell ourselves we want this life. What are our actions show us? Are our actions aligning with our words? Most of the time, for a lot of people, they are not.
Something that I have conversations with my clients a lot about, looking at where their actions map specifically. So if we're saying we want this thing, Do our actions actually map to that outcome? And if not, I find that the hurdle for a lot of people is ambiguous conversations, or I hate to call things excuses, but maybe rationale. So, oh, things got crazy busy or crazy hectic this week with the kids, or things were slammed at work. And when we have these big picture service level conversations, we can't have these specific solutions. So that's why I'm so happy to hear you mention auditing specifically. No, break out your freaking calendar. Let me look. You're saying I don't have time in the morning. That's fine. Let's see what you're doing between 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. every night, because either we can fit something in there or look for ways to actually allow you to get to bed earlier. So ambiguous excuses, rationale, conversation, things got so crazy, things are hectic, things are nuts at the house this week, they don't allow for specific troubleshooting. So when you do exactly what you're describing, Brian, let's actually break out the calendar at a glance. Let's look for those gaps. Let's audit where you're spending your time. It's freeing in a way. You might feel a little called out at first, but it's freeing in a way because then you see the opportunities where you can reasonably put yourself first and not at the expense of your partner or your kids.
Yeah, it's scary when you do it. Don't get me wrong. You are going to be disgusted with yourself if you are honest and do this in maybe 15 or 30-minute increments. I pride myself as a pretty structured, busy guy, right? I don't waste a lot of time. When I did this exercise for myself, I was horrified at how much time I wasted. If I'm wasting time, like maybe the top, 1,000 performers out there in the world, you're wasting time too. Like, and I'm not special. I'm just saying, I know I'm above average in this category because it's something I've worked a lot, really
pay
hard.
attention to it. You pay attention to it, and that's not normal.
Yeah. And so I have guys do it and they're like, oh, Jesus Christ, so, but it's great though, because it highlights the time that you do have. It's found time. We've just found resources that we didn't know. And so much of what I'm doing with people when I work with them is just getting to understand what their day looks like. Okay, look, we all know what to do. We all know what to do. We all know we should eat better. We all know we should move more. We all know we should probably sleep more. We all know we should reduce stress. Life gets in the way of all this stuff, right? And so just like I accepted that getting out of the chair and limping and complaining and having a wife that didn't really like me and having to go out a few nights a week and I have to eat shit and I have to drink a lot when I do that, I accepted those things as my fate. None of those are your fate. None of them was my fate. It's just a rhythm you get into. It's behavior that we get into. And it's much easier to repeat behavior than it is to break away and do something different.
Oh, absolutely.